and there's intimacy on the radio, and there's naturalness on the radio that can never be replicated on TV. The marvelous resurgence of radio as a political force in this country.
News-related radio programming is evolving.
There's a huge hole in our dialogue that can be filled by the synthesis of traditional radio and the freedom that comes from a live podcast. You're about to experience Cowboy State Politics live. Here we go. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to another tremendous installment from very high above all the insipid and puerile and completely vacuous forms of Wyoming mainstream media. This is Cowboy State Politics. I, of course, am your illustrious host, David Iverson, firmly ensconced behind the silver Cowboy State Politics microphone and broadcasting to you from the base of the Bighorns at the Cowboy State Politics Studio in Sheridan, Wyoming. Good morning, my friends, and welcome to the program. Happy Tuesday, exactly 1 week before Election Day, primary Election Day 2026. Are you ready, Ken?
Yeah.
Oh, that's all I get, of course. But it's true, my friends. We've only got 1 week to go.
I don't want to appear excited or agitated or anything.
Well, no, you gotta be careful about what you say.
That could be used against me in a court of slop.
In a court of slop, yes, this is true. Well, that's pretty much what we're seeing now. And you would think, and this is the way the media characterizes it, politicians are making their final arguments to voters. I haven't quite seen that yet, but on in national elections or national news reports, that's what you always hear, like a week before the election. They're making their final arguments to voters.
I've been arguing in front of voters for 6 years now.
True.
There's not much left to say.
So here's what I've been thinking all weekend long. I mean, over the weekend I watched quite a bit of baseball. I watched some other sports, some of which we'll talk about. And you do that, and you get to see a lot of campaign advertisements. And you would think that given however many months a candidate has been campaigning, that their arguments would get more and more and more refined, that the argument would be more sophisticated, that it would be more and clearer to the point, because all your competition's been out there for months saying how wrong you are. I would assume you would get the better argument.
How much can you polish oh-ha?
Well, I know, but there's some kernels. I mean, it's you can only say people, not platforms, so often. Of course, that's not your opponent. That's James Temple's opponent. But at some point, it gets boring, and they have to kind of switch it up a little bit.
I have to say this, not my opponent, but I follow her. I go through neighborhoods where she's been, and people talk to her, and there's some very funny stories.
Please tell me you've got one.
I would have to say that door-to-dooring is not necessarily her strong suit.
You are being very diplomatic this morning.
Does not seemly to gloat. At one door, I guess her question to the person was, what would you like to see in a representative? And the response came back immediately. I want to see no abortions, no exceptions. I see absolute gun rights and 2 or 3 other things like that, solid conservative values. She said, okay, thank you, and left.
Have a nice day. So, you're not going to get that from me.
Yeah, that's secondhand. I didn't get to witness it, but I would love to have been the dog at the door.
Over where we live, there's a I don't know if you want to call it like a there's a VOA, Volunteers of America complex there, and there's several veterans that live there. And one guy, he's in a motorized wheelchair, nice, really nice guy, and he just goes around the whole neighborhood in his motorized wheelchair. Well, I was on my way back to the house this weekend, and here he is with a Harry Pollock for City Council sign on the back of his motorized wheelchair, and he's just going up and down the streets. And I snapped a picture of it and sent it to Harry, but I thought it was great. You know, at this point in the election, you do see some things that are, but I mean, I guess depending on how you look at it, they would be kind of funny, but they just kind of make you chuckle. You know, that we've been campaigning here for, you know, months and months, and you know, some days you think that you've seen it all, and then the guy in the wheelchair with the campaign sign on the back of it shows up.
I've had a lot of little incidental things that are encouraging lately. Is, you know, I think I mentioned once the guy that was mad at the flyers being sent out about me.
Yeah.
Came to the door carrying one and said, "This is ridiculous. Give
Go
me
put
a
a sign.
sign."
Go put a sign in my yard.
And there are others. You know, I've had people send me checks on impulse because they're just mad about the misrepresentation.
You know, that was a reoccurring theme that I heard all weekend long. Several different times I was on the phone with the Republican Party headquarters just for a variety of different things, researching different stories. And what I heard was their phones are getting hammered with people that are just pissed off about all of these mailers. That not just, I mean, politics is always kind of dirty. And every election, I can't think of one where there hasn't been at least one really nasty mailer. But it's just the sheer volume of them this year that I heard a lot of comments about over the weekend.
Well, that's part of it. And then it's people in Wyoming know their representatives pretty well. You know, we had this conversation the other day. It's not like in Colorado where one person represents 88,000 people.
No.
You know,
And
here we represent 9, 10 maybe.
And, you know, if you're involved in politics at all, you know, if you watch the issues, more often than not, you've picked up the phone and, you know, called your representative. And, you know, here in Wyoming, most of you guys have your cell phone listed on the website.
Yeah.
And if you don't see them in the grocery store, well, here's a great story for you. So during COVID, you know, we were allegedly locked down and the whole mask thing was going on. Thank you, Mark Gordon. And I ran out of coffee. And so I went over to where I was living in Buffalo. The grocery store was a block and a half from the apartment. So I went over to the grocery store, and I'm getting my coffee. I'm kind of a coffee snob. I don't know if I've told you that or not, but it's true. I do like really good coffee.
Not compared to me, but
well, you know, I mean, you drink that swill over there. Anyway, so I look up from the getting my coffee. I get the, you know, coffee beans. I look up and it's Mark Gordon, like walking down the aisle. So of course I turn around and I'm like, "Mark, how you doing?" He has his hat all pulled down so people won't see him. And
was he wearing a mask?
No, he was not wearing the.
Shocked.
Did you hear that during COVID he changed his brand? It's the Flying Masked W. Yeah, Wyoming mask. Anyway, but my point is that in Wyoming it is pretty easy to get a hold of your representative, and if you live anywhere around here, it's highly likely you've bumped into the governor.
Good chance you'll see him at a family reunion.
This is true. So, you know, I guess the point is that the sheer volume of the negative ads has been truly tremendous this year.
And they just don't add up. I mean, we might get into it later.
We're probably going to get into it later.
There's one sent out about me this weekend that was just...
You got that trading card too, huh?
You got to be a trading card.
It's true.
Maybe someday they'll be worth something.
They might be. All right. So enough of that stuff. Let's actually get on with the program. Before I even get started, a little self-congratulation. For the second year in a row, Cowboy State Politics is on the top 100 podcasts, conservative podcasts in the country. And just to give you an idea of who's on this list. Of course, I'm not at number one, though, you know, in my opinion, probably should be. But some of the names on this list: The Charlie Kirk Show, Dan Bongino, Ted Cruz, The Megyn Kelly. I don't really like Megyn Kelly anymore. She's kind of gone off the rails. The Michael Knowles Show, Matt Walsh, Andrew Clayton. The Glenn Beck Program is at number 11. Mark Levin, the great one, is at number 12. Allie Beth Stuckey is at number 13. Steve Bannon, number 14. And if you get all the way down to number 69 is Cowboy State Politics. Yay! We better do this. Okay, all right.
That, my friend, is a tinny, crappy soundbite.
It is, but I like the cannons in it.
We'll get a good one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's I've had that one for forever, and I kind of did the tinny sound on purpose.
Yeah.
You can't be too self-congratulatory.
But I think at one point, we were like
number 26 was the highest we ever got on that list.
That's pretty remarkable for such a small market.
Well, it is not it's remarkable for this program in Wyoming to be on the list of the top 100 conservative podcasts in the entire country. On there with the likes of Steve Bannon and, oh, man.
What about, I didn't go look, but Uncle Ted Nugent.
Ted Nugent? I haven't seen his name on here. He's got to be on here somewhere.
You could, if we do happen to be above him, you could say bigger than Ted Nugent.
Well, I don't know if anybody's bigger than the Nuge. But here's the thing: if you look through this list, there is only one program that is on the top 100. That's me. That's this program. It's Cowboy State Politics, and the reason why is we tell you the truth.
Well, you guys are the reason why.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are, you're listening to this program, paying attention to everything that you do. Thank you very much. You should be very proud.
Well, look, we just lost 30% of our audience.
No, we didn't. No. But thank you very much. Number 69 on the top 100 conservative podcasts in the entire country. Now, you're definitely not going to see the cow pie on there because, well, for a number of reasons. One, they suck, and two, they're not conservative. So anyway, thank you very much for that. So now we mentioned some of the campaign mailers that have been and advertisements that have been going around. And so there's a piece in the cow pie, and it's entitled "More Dark Money in Governor's Race" with new attack ad on Degenfelder. Now, I have not seen the ad on Degenfelder, but from the tenor of the article, I can only guess that it's kind of horrendous. I mean, it really distorts her record when she worked, in oil and gas. But here's what the article says. A new attack ad surfaced against gubernatorial candidate Megyn Felder this weekend after independent groups attacked her opponent Eric Barlow for weeks. Representative Hageman condemned this ad and said Barlow created it. Wyoming's gubernatorial campaign is ratcheting up with attack ads now targeting Megyn Felder. One of her two opponents, Eric Barlow, has been the target of ads for weeks by both TV and mail. A new political group, PAC, that registered in Wyoming on August 5th, has started airing commercials against Degenfelder, implying that she engaged in dirty deals while working for a coal company. Now, the truth is, instead of just reading the whole thing to you, Cloud Peak Energy sold to a company. Now, at the time, Cloud Peak Energy was up for sale. They owed something like $20 some odd million in taxes. Well, part of the sales deal was the company that acquired them was going to settle up the tax debt. Okay, no big deal. That happens in oil and gas all of the time. The ad opens with a female voice and an artificial intelligence rendered avatar of Degenfelder in a sleek black suit. Quote, "For Megyn Felder, dirty politics was just business as usual," the ad alleges. It says that Degenfelder was paid thousands to lobby for loopholes that let her company dodge millions in local taxes. So none of that is true. They didn't dodge taxes, and they sold with the part of the deal being let's see here. I think it says, here we go. Before August of 2017, when Jillian Balo hired Degenfelder, the latter worked. The grammar on this thing is just stupid. Why don't you just say Megyn Felder worked for in government affairs for Cloud Peak Energy. Then in August of 2019, 2 years later, Navajo Transitional Energy agreed to pay the company's taxes and purchase the company. Wyoming Secretary of State filings show Degenfelder was a registered lobbyist for Southland Royalty Company, LLC, from 2016 till 2021. That was an oil and gas company. I mean, the ad just completely distorts her record. Now, the article then goes into a kind of a defense, not kind of, an outright defense of Eric Barlow. Here's what it says. Barlow countered, let's see here, looking for it. All right, so we've got to back up a little bit. Hageman was also unimpressed and redoubled her longstanding support for Degenfelder. Quote, I have learned firsthand as a legislator that what you say in a campaign defines what you will do when elected. Sometimes, unless you're a redcoat. If you're a redcoat, what you say in the campaign is exactly the opposite of what you're going to do. And the ad speaks volumes, said Hageman. Campaigning on an anti-coal message shows that this is a concerted effort to stop production of one of our biggest assets. She called the Powder River Basin Resource Council, which the Barlow family helped build, a passion project of the state senators. Barlow countered that he's pro-coal, pro-energy, and not behind the ad. Listen to this. Listen, I wish we could record segments of this program and then play them back almost immediately.
Yeah.
So listen to this. This is what Barlow says. I'm from Campbell County. I grew up in Campbell County. I've been elected 6 times in Campbell County by coal miners and rig hands. On the one hand, Barlow had banded with other Western ranchers and landowners in 2002 to oppose what he then cast as irresponsible energy development on northern Wyoming ranch lands. Vanity Fair named him an eco-hero in 2007. So here is the... Let's see your slideshow from current slide. So here it is from Vanity Fair. So it says, and this is the heading on this particular page. It says, in a world where the logging of America's old-growth forests is called the Healthy Forest Initiative, and where former lobbyists from the oil and gas industries are responsible for protecting air and water and soil, the task of environmentalists has grown Herculean. Great word. It would only come from Vanity Fair. Fortunately, many of the nation's leading eco-activists have proved more than up to the job, and then they have pictures of 70 of them. And here is Eric Barlow. And it says, under the caption, Eric Barlow, a cattle rancher and veterinarian in Wyoming, who testified before Congress in 2003 to push for, here's the quotation that the Cowboy used, more responsible oil and gas development. Okay, here's a little up and close picture. Look at that. Isn't that a great photo op? I bet they sent a photographer all the way to Dead Horse Creek just to take that picture. Or maybe Barlow went to their studios to do it.
Would you trust a veterinarian that lives at Dead Horse Creek?
No, I would
just
not.
wondering.
And you shouldn't trust Eric Barlow. Okay, now let's go to the actual ad that Okay, so the sound isn't that great here because I couldn't find this on YouTube, and so I waited until the commercial played on my TV and recorded it that way. So go ahead and play the video. I think it's called Eco Hero. Go ahead and play that for us, Ken.
New York's Vanity Fair magazine named Eric Barlow their eco-hero. But out here, Wyoming runs on coal, oil, and gas. While our hard work powers the nation, Barlow turned around, sued to lock up our energy, and told Congress oil and gas are killing the West. We know when somebody's blowing smoke, and we sure as heck don't need Vanity Fair's eco-hero as governor.
Now, Ken, do you have any problem with that ad?
Well, I don't.
This is the first time you've seen it. I mean, but,
Yeah.
How does it strike you?
It's a bad time of year to ask me how
I know.
it strikes me.
I know.
Because, and I say this because I lock it out.
Okay.
Well,
you're kind of in a different position. I mean, you're kind of in the middle of all this slop.
Yeah, and my mind was made up a long time ago, but I think that there's probably a lot of people that feel much like I do that are just kind of overwhelmed And it's really hard to, you go back and play it again. I could give you some sort of an analysis or whatever.
Sure.
My impression was phony big voice.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
All of the drama that goes into these things. The message, message makes sense.
Okay, but the ad doesn't strike you as truthful.
The ad strikes me as a bit hollow.
Okay. Well, the funny thing that you should say that, because everything they say in the ad, except for, the opinionated overtones, but the facts related to the ad, they're absolutely true.
Yeah, I have no problem with
So
that.
in 2007, I don't remember the exact date.
But the packaging.
The packaging is
That's my
not
problem.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And now Eric Barlow testified before Congress. Well, his statement was read before Congress on 2 different occasions. The first time he testified, and this is funny, but he did not attend the hearing that he was scheduled to testify in. Pat Sweeney did in his place. Not even kidding you. So Sweeney read the bulk of Barlow's letter to Congress, and I want you to pay very close attention. This is from page 101 of that day's congressional record, and read this, and I'll just read it to you. This leads me, and this is Eric Barlow's statement to Congress. And I quote, "This leads me to my final point, which is that there has not been a meaningful acknowledgement that we must move beyond non-renewable sources of energy. It is time for this nation to be a world leader and transform our energy paradigm. True security for this nation will be based in part on clean and sustainable sources of energy." Quote, it is reasonable to expect that fossil fuels will have to play a role, but it must be one of transition and not reliance. Now go back to what he said in the cow pie. He says, I'm from Campbell County. I grew up in Campbell County. I've been elected 6 times in Campbell County by coal miners and rig hands. Now, if that part is true, it is by coal miners and rig hands who had no idea what he was campaigning for. I mean, this is all the way back in 2003, and he's testifying before Congress, and he says, we need to do away with fossil fuels and focus on renewable energy. That is the guy that's running for Congress. Now, do you think that Eric Barlow, should he, God forbid, if he gets elected, is he going to deviate from Mark Gordon's Go Green initiative at all?
If he does, it'll be even more to the left.
It'll be way more to the left.
Yeah.
He will double down on it. This is precisely who Eric Barlow has been since he's been in politics. There's a great piece on the Open Range Record, and let me just find it for you here. Let's see here. Here it is. It's entitled Born in a Barn, Eric Barlow and a History of Radical Environmental Politics in Wyoming. Now, if you scroll through this article, it is heavily documented. Everything that you want to know about Eric Barlow is in there. You can see all of the links all the way through this thing. You can, I love this one, the advocacy network around the Barlow orbit. There are so many things in this article that are absolutely true about Eric Barlow. And one of those is that he went to Congress and advocated against Wyoming resources. And yet he's the person running around saying, I'm pro coal, I'm pro energy. And everything that I've seen, Ken, the past is prologue. You don't spend 20 some odd years being a radical environmentalist and all of a sudden turn into this black, dirty hands, dirty clothes, coal mining fool. That doesn't happen.
What's the motivation to be governor? Finally, I'm in a position where I can do what I've wanted to do my whole life.
Well, that go back to, let's see, is that video in here? No, that was the follow-up. But there's a video where Wyoming PBS interviewed him, and he says, I was an activist, and then I realized that I needed to do something else so I could make change. That's why he ran for office. And none of these things are in dispute except from Eric Barlow. I don't know how better to explain it except to say all of the evidence is there. Go read it for yourself. Don't just be blindly voting for him because you like his signs, which, man, who in their right mind? I realize it's the guy's last name, But why would you put a bar above your name and just open the door for saying, well, we're lowering the bar? I mean, come on.
What's the game bending over backwards?
No,
Why can't I think of
what?
Anyway, maybe that was a favorite game in the past.
I don't know. But there's plenty of evidence to show you that Eric Barlow is not who he claims to
Limbo.
be. Limbo, there you go.
So whenever we mention him, we should play the Limbo Rock.
We should. We should. But, my friends, the guy is a radical environmentalist. He has been his entire career. And now I knew that testimony from 2003 existed. It's just for the life of me. I don't know. Maybe I wasn't searching the right thing, but it took me a while to find it. And now we've got it. He says we got to do away with renewable resources. And I don't know how much more evidence you need on there when it comes to the governor's race. As it relates to that, later today, we've got a piece coming on the Open Range record that kind of gives you the layout of where the three candidates are. And I think you'll find it a pretty interesting read because it just kind of lays out, where the supporters for each one of the candidates are. And I've got some data in there, fundraising data of who's donating to whom, and what we're going to cover right after the break, crossover voters. Will they have an impact on this election? I mean, that was a big thing months ago. Every newspaper in the state ran articles. Hey, it's up till May 13th it was May 14th to change your party affiliation. Don't forget that date. Every media outlet in the state was going bonkers over that. After the break, we're going to find out whether or not that had an effect. So we'll do that in just a second. The following ad was paid for by Brent Bean for governor.
This is Brent Bean, a Republican for governor. Wyoming families know what matters: law enforcement, emergency services, and supporting strong schools, agriculture, and energy production. But state government keeps growing while priorities fight for resources. That has to change. We don't have a revenue problem. We have a spending and priority problem. Vote for me on August 18th, and I'll put Wyoming priorities first. I'll return taxes to you, the taxpayer, and make Wyoming number one. Paid for by Brent Bean for governor.
Today's program is also brought to you by Morton Buildings. If you're in the market for any type of building for your property, you need to call Marcos and Jesse at Morton Buildings. Their phone number is 307-674-2532. They're the best in metal building construction, and they've been doing it longer than anybody else around. So it doesn't matter if it's a garage or a barn or maybe something bigger, like a roping arena or maybe a giant warehouse for your business. The two guys you need to call first are Marcos and Jesse. Again, their phone number is 307-674-2532, or you can check them out on their website, mortonbuildings.com.
A free people require the right to keep and bear arms. Because of that, I've been proud to sponsor and co-sponsor several gun bills such as Stand Your Ground and No Red Flag Gun Seizures. I'm Mark Jennings, and I'm running for Wyoming State House District 30. 3 years ago, I carried the Second Amendment Protection Act to passage in the House. We now have one of the nation's toughest penalties, up to a year in jail for an official that's committing unconstitutional gun control. I'm endorsed by the NRA and Gun Owners of America. Vote to uphold the Second Amendment. Vote for Mark Jennings on August the 18th. This message was paid for by Mark Jennings for House District 30. I approve of this message, and you should too.
Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live on a Tuesday. I'm your host, David Iverson. Number 69 on the list of the top 100 podcasts, conservative podcasts in the entire country. Welcome back to the program, my friends. Now, months ago...
Are there other countries that have conservative podcasts?
I'm sure there are. I would be shocked if there weren't a bunch of them in the UK. Of course, there's a little bit different, right? Their party names are switched, and everything's backwards over there.
Tories.
Yeah, Tories, Whigs, whatever. So months ago, the narrative in Wyoming political circles was, at least from the media anyway, was you got to change your party affiliation. Don't forget to change your party affiliation by May 14th. You could not go anywhere without seeing that ad. Even, where was I think it was a trip back from the western part of the state, and I stopped in Basin to get gas. And there's a little gas station I like to stop at. It's just perfect. And so I picked up the little...
Just don't drive too fast in Basin.
No, you don't drive fast.
It's not Shoshone, but it's right up there.
Well, there are a couple of places you don't drive fast. One of them is Basin.
Yeah.
One of them is Manderson.
Yeah.
Manderson, that town's entire source of revenue has got to be speeding tickets. So you don't speed through there. Anyway, so I stop at the little gas station and pick up their little weekly rag. And I call it a rag, but it's actually a pretty interesting little paper. And right on the front page, last day to change your voter affiliation.
It was on the front page of the Sheridan Press.
For a long time.
Yeah, article about this is how we do this.
Yeah. Well, all right. So the question is, and the lead up to that was you could have a big influence on the election. Well, the question remains then is how many people actually did change their party affiliation? You got any guesses, Ken?
Well, I know, but I'm not going to ruin your game.
Well, you can't even play along.
No, I'm not. I don't like being put on the spot. See?
Yeah, well, I mean, you're kind of in the spot to be put on the spot. Anyway, so you would think, given the lead up, that those numbers would be huge. The amount of Democrats that switched over to the Republican Party, but statewide, it was 1,732 people. 1,732 Democrats that switched over to the Republican Party. That's it. Not 2,000, not 10,000, not 12,000. That was a few years ago. It was 1,732 people. Now, the truth is, there are several different districts that could turn on the small amount of votes that happened. But listen to some of the numbers. So here in Sheridan, there was 157 people. Democrats that switched over from the Democrat Party to the Republican Party. And then there are other places like Converse County, 13. Bighorn County, 11. I would have assumed that there were way more Democrats in Bighorn than that.
In Bighorn County, there's a lot of rhinos already.
Well, that's the point I'm getting to, actually. Now, some of the other numbers. So unaffiliated voters to Republican. There was 1,017 of those. Let's see here. Libertarian to Republican, 65. No labels. I didn't even know that we had that party here, but no labels, 12. Undecided or unaffiliated, 151. And Republicans to Democrats, here's an interesting number, 401. Republicans switched back over to the Democrat Party. So those numbers, tells you that, yeah, it's true. We do have a bunch of redcoats. But all told, not that many people in the state switched over. Now, there are some races like Weston County. Of course, there isn't a challenger for Dum Dum's race. I mean, J.D. Williams. But that one was, 3 votes in 2022? Something like that?
Yeah. Sheridan County is always close.
Yep, always close here. Well,
not between,
House 29 it is.
Yeah. Not in the general, but...
Well, yeah, but, we know everything pretty much happens in the primary. And so the point here is there were not that many people that switched over from, some other party to the Republican Party. And, a couple thousand statewide, nothing. That is nothing compared to 2018. And by the way, Ken, let's show them the graph here. Okay, so here's all the numbers. You can see them for yourself. I should have put this up when I was going through it. But you can see the total on the Democrats, 1,732, unaffiliated, 1,000, and then the Republicans to Democrats, 401. Okay, but look at this. So this is 2018. Notice any difference? In 2018, statewide, there were 6,000 Democrats that switched to Republican. Now, 2018 had a couple of different things going on. Okay, so Liz Storr had an effort going on called the Independent Republicans of Wyoming. It was this crazy little LLC that she started like a week or two before the election. Ran a robocall, which you don't have those really anymore because they're illegal in Wyoming. But ran a robocall operation and trying to convince people to switch over to the Republican Party to vote for Mark Gordon. Now, 6,000 votes statewide could most definitely turn an election. And if you look at the totals, so Democrat to Republican, 6,000, unaffiliated to Republican, 4,000. So we're up to 10,005 in change. Constitution, Libertarian to Republican, now we're up to 11,000. Unaffiliated, oh, that's to Democrats. Okay, so roughly 11 to 12,000 people switched over to the Republican Party. So why is it then that you don't have a lot of that happening this year? Because most of them are already in the Republican Party. That's why. And so it tells you that, honestly, the election should not change all that much, at least the amount of voters. Typically in midterm elections, you see voter turnout go down just because there's no presidential election, Trump's not on the ballot, all those sorts of things. And so while there are some districts in Wyoming that are going to turn on a couple of votes, one in Cheyenne, Landon Brown and Eggsy Brown last year, what was that, like 17 votes, something like that? A really small number. So I'm not saying that the Democrats in the Republican Party, which we know there's already a bunch of them there, most of them hang out in the capital in Cheyenne, won't have an effect. I'm saying the effect is going to be a lot less than the media really wanted it to be.
So take a look at that and see. Jerry wants to know about Sweetwater County.
So in Sweetwater County this year, 46 Democrats switched over to Republican. And actually, we should probably say, let's see here, 72 unaffiliated and Democrats switched over to the Republican Party. Now, in 2018, that number, it's kind of hard to see here, but in 2018, that number was 365 that switched over to the Republican Party. So I would say in Sweetwater County, most of the Democrats are already in the Republican Party, even though, and this is, Sweetwater County is such a strange one because it's a pretty liberal place. Even though we got, Marlene Brady, Darren McCann, there's a lot of really crazy liberal crap that happens there. That's where they have the drag show where public officials show up and Clark Stith donates money. Drag Show Clark gives money to the Drag for a Cause is what they call it. So I really don't think that the Democrats switching over are going to have that big of an effect. I think it's going to be counterbalanced by the low turnout of a midterm election, despite all of the ads. And I if anything, I think a lot of these political ads have really disheartened people, that they're just kind of sick of the whole thing. And I really think it's going to have an effect on voter turnout. I might be wrong on that one. Maybe we'll have record voter turnout for a midterm election, but I don't know. The numbers just don't bear it out at all. Moving on. From the cow pie, the caucus that don't get no respect. That's the title. Columnist Dave Simpson writes, now be honest now, what's not to like about the biggest property tax cut in Wyoming history? Why is that a bad thing? Well, the redcoats will tell you, well, we have to have all of these essential services. You can't lower taxes. You lower taxes, we're going to lose things like the ambulance force and the police force and fire, and your house is going to burn to the ground, and your kids will have no school to go to. And so you have to have higher tax cuts. You have to have higher taxes. But really, think about it. Who doesn't like paying less on a bill? I mean, do you know a single person that would walk into I don't know, maybe they had their heater worked on and they walk into the heating company and say, please charge me more. Do you know a single person that would do that? No. Most people, when they get a bill, I would say almost everybody I know. No, everybody I know. When they get a bill and it's actually lower than they expected, they're kind of happy about it. It is only political redcoats that are trying to convince you to pay higher taxes. Property taxes and this is Dave Simpson now, on our place near Cheyenne had crept up significantly as the valuation increased. So last year's 25% cut added onto another 25% for long-time homeowners, and that was much appreciated. But you hardly ever hear about the tax cut. Why is that? Well, because the Wyoming media is funded largely by government. And the more money that more of your money that government shells out, the more of it goes to the media. And we have a lot of communities in Wyoming that work for government. There's a lot in Sheridan County. There's a ton in Johnson County, and really all across the state. Government is the number one industry in Wyoming. It's bigger than coal. It's bigger than oil. It's bigger than natural gas. Government is the number one employer in this state. Simpson goes on. In fact, as next week's primary election looms, what you often hear is that the Freedom Caucus leadership in the House is about to come to an end. Real anger is expressed by many voters toward the very people who shepherded that tax cut into law. Beats me why the Freedom Caucus raises hackles the way that it does. We appreciated the tax cut, and we know on whose watch it happened. Ooh, having trouble reading this morning. But that tax cut happened because the Freedom Caucus pushed it through. And it was the Freedom Caucus setting the agenda in the House when the bill banning boys in girls' sports became law, after disappearing in the House a year before. Maybe you don't care about that, but a lot of people have granddaughters. And the thought of some guy parading around naked in the girls' locker room, then unfairly dominating play on the floor, repulses most grandparents. And it should you too. But the people that pushed that through were the Freedom Caucus. It wasn't the liberal redcoats that fought it tooth and nail. Now, if you and here's the deceptive thing about WyoLedge. It only shows you what the votes were. I mean, you can read amendments on there too, but it doesn't show you what actually happened on the floor. It doesn't show you that people like Julie Jarvis and Elisa Campbell and Landon Brown and the long list of Democrats and redcoats fought those laws tooth and nail. They were constantly up at the microphone trying to explain away the bill and how it wasn't needed and how we should just keep things the way that they are. None of the results on WyoLedge show you that. So if you want to understand exactly what happened there, you've got to go all the way back and watch the YouTube video. How many people are going to do that? But the reality is now men can't play in women's sports in Wyoming, and you get a big giant 25% tax cut. The same holds true with gun-free zones, increasing the possibility that there will be a good guy with a gun on hand if a mass shooting occurs. That was just the case in Idaho 2 weeks ago, or last week anyway. Same with school choice. That was the Freedom Caucus. And voter ID. That was the Freedom Caucus. So when you hear arguments about, how terrible they are, and all you got to do is get on Facebook or any social media, thing, and you can see Freedom Caucus bad, but they don't tell you why. Oh, I mean, there's a lot of nameless, faceless drivel floating around trying to spin every vote that happened on the floor, but all of them ignore the facts. And the facts are that a lot of really good things came out of the legislature that was pushed by the Freedom Caucus. And a lot of it has to do with your pocketbook. And so, I'm not, and here's the reason why. The left in this state was caught off guard in 2024. They really did not think that conservatives were going to take the House. And here's how I know that. Blatantly, openly, in the legislature, they were raising money for the Wyoming caucus PAC. You could watch it happen. They openly said on the floor that the Wyoming caucus was going to have meetings. That was Barry Crago. He's the first guy that said that. And they didn't make any bones about it. Well, now, 2 years later, when it's the Freedom Caucus, and that very same thing that was happening, it just so happened that somebody took a picture of it this time. Now it's the worst thing that ever happened. When 2 years prior, it was the Wyoming caucus doing the same thing. It was the Wyoming caucus operating out of Clark Stith's office, which, by the way, nothing ever happened there. I still have a bone to pick with members of Management Council on that one. You had all the evidence, and they didn't do anything about it. But conducting political activities out of the Speaker Pro Tem's office, raising money inside the Capitol, which they absolutely did. You can go look at the Wyoming Caucus PAC, which is now defunct, and you can see who was making donations, and it was all the members of the Wyoming Caucus that were donating to themselves. And so they really did not think that conservatives were going to take the House. And so they got caught off on their heels. Here we are 2 years later, and it really is kind of the Empire Strikes Back. And all you got to do is turn on your TV at night or open any newspaper or pull up any article on the cow pie, and there will be a half a dozen advertisements in it about how you have to support this liberal candidate or that, which they don't say that. I mean, everybody's a conservative now. But one of the reasons why you're seeing this crazy amount of ads is because they were caught off guard and they didn't think that it was going to happen. And they know that if conservatives are in control for 2 more years, maybe they were able to slow things down the past 2 years. Maybe they could throw up enough roadblocks to keep the giant Rube Goldberg money machine running if they were able to win the House in this next election. But if conservatives take it, that thing is trash.
Yeah, I believe there's also the fear that the more we dig into the way things have always been done, the more corruption we'll find.
Absolutely.
And the more trouble we're going to have. And that prompts people to desperation.
Well, and you are seeing desperation. So anyway, my friends, let's go ahead and take another break. And when we come back, Ken and I are going to do a little trading card practice. I haven't done that in so long. I was looking at it today, and I'm like, we need to do that. So Ken and I will trade some stuff when we come back. The calendar says that it's summer, and you believe it. Oh, that's just so cute. But you obviously haven't lived here very long, have you? And you probably think that the weather is just going to continue to warm up. You don't have to worry about snow or ice or 30-degree temperatures anymore. In case you've forgotten, this is Wyoming, my friend, and that sort of thinking doesn't work here. 1 minute, it could be 75 and sunny, and 10 minutes later, snow. Whatever the weather, you need a pair of socks that'll keep your feet cool and dry even on the hottest of summer days. And if you happen to run into that spring snowstorm, you'll stay nice and toasty warm. Well, your feet anyway. To get you a pair, go to the website, thebuffalowoolco.com. Trust me, you won't be disappointed. These are the finest socks that I've ever put on my feet. Are you one of those people that said something like this before Trump became president?
I have a house in Spain that is going to be ready right after the election.
Siberia,
Nova Scotia.
I'm definitely moving to Canada.
Straight to hell. Iceland.
France.
Asia's pretty cool.
And has the last year and a half been more than you could bear? Well, if it has, you've come to the right place. Call my friend Rebecca Bextel at eXp Realty. She has her fingers on the pulse of the real estate market all across the state of Wyoming. Last year, she sold around $30 million worth of property. Everything from small residential properties all the way up to big giant ranches. So if you've got to get the heck out of Dodge, if you've got to be gone Johnson because you can't stand that Trump is the president, call Rebecca Bextel. Her phone number is 307-699-3519. Let me say that one more time for you in case you missed it. 307-699-3519. Welcome back to the program, Cowboy State Politics Live on a Tuesday. It's 1 week before the 2026 primary election. Ken, when you were little, did you ever trade baseball cards or football cards or anything like that?
Actually, I never got into that.
No,
Never did.
Never did, huh?
No, marbles, some.
Okay.
We used to play marbles and then trade.
Okay. Well, I mean, kind of the same thing,
Kinda
right?
thing. Yeah, I've lost them all, though.
I know you have. I have to work with you every day. Well, baseball cards were a really big thing, in my childhood. Well, they still are, which I suppose speaks volumes about me. But I do have in the studio.
Were they in color?
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a few of them that are black and
I
white.
say, you're not as old as I am.
I have one, Ted Williams, one from
Yeah.
1947 that is a kind of a painting, sort of, color picture.
Yeah.
It's not really worth that much. It's not in that great a shape. It's just Ted Williams.
I think I've mentioned this before. My dad had a baseball signed by all the Orioles somewhere around 1950.
Wow.
And I have no idea whatever happened to that.
My grandmother you're not going to believe this one. So she had, I guess it would be hers. My late grandmother. She had a baseball signed by the 1969 New York Yankees. And it was crazy because the baseball was just sitting up on a bookshelf.
Yeah.
But Mickey Mantle, Roger Maris, Johnny Bench, all of the greats were on it. And it was kind of one of those, it should have some guests over and we'll all be talking sports. And, I would try to get baseball into the conversation somehow. And then my dad would be like, oh, yeah, you got a jersey from some, unknown. Let me show you this. David, go get the baseball. And I'd bring it down. And, you always hold it by the laces because it's got, invaluable signatures on it. I'm assuming my uncle has that baseball now. Maybe he sold it. I don't know. But trading cards, big thing, man. Ricky Henderson was my guy. I've got a huge Ricky Henderson collection. I only have one Mickey Mantle card, which I'm very proud of. In the baseball card world, Ken, and of course, maybe this is all foreign to you. It doesn't really matter what condition a Mickey Mantle card is in. It's, well, you have a Mickey Mantle. So, you're good. But in the political world, we kind of have the same thing, except they're all political advertisements. So, Ken, I have one.
I see a Steve Freese on the bottom of the pile there. That one's absolutely worthless because there's so many in the market.
Well, that's true. This is like the 1980s version of Topps baseball cards.
Yeah.
They produce so many of them that
Yeah.
it's just absolutely
Not
worthless.
worth a damn.
I mean, it's a common card. Here's a good one. I don't know if you've seen this one. I guess I could show it. And yeah, see, fields of wind turbines are taking over Wyoming because of Chuck Gray.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously this one is a, let's see here. Wow. Does it say who? Paid for by Wyoming Way Action, whomever those are. They obviously like anybody but Chuck Gray. But the truth is, and I don't know, so what do you got over there? I have some valuable ones here. I don't know if I want to trade or not.
Oh, I'm not trading anything right now.
Oh, okay. All right.
I got one I would trade you.
Okay, or what do you got?
I got a James Temple.
Okay, all right.
And this is a good one.
Okay, I'll trade you the Chuck Gray for the James Temple. All right, give me that one.
Well, the only reason I went that way is because this one's bigger.
Yeah, okay. Well, it might be worth more. Ooh, I have one that might be really valuable to you. Let's see here. Where is it? I have a when others retreat to tall grass rather than protect your constitutional rights, Ken Pendergraft will stand up and fight for you. Do you have one of those? Oh, man, duplicate. All right.
By the way, thanks, GOA.
Yeah, that was a good one. What about this one? This is an interesting one. I don't think you have this one. It says being conservative is about more than stopping bad ideas. It's about strengthening Wyoming. Our kids and grandkids will inherit. Your family and livelihood deserve leadership that protects Wyoming for what's next. Do you have this one?
I don't have that one, but that one and $10 will get you a cup of coffee almost anywhere.
Well, yeah, okay.
Except the innominate.
Except at, I don't know, maybe at Innominate Bakery.
I wonder if she'd accept them.
She might. I mean, she paid an awful lot of money for them. But they say all sorts of crazy stuff on it, like what kind of conservative leadership produces the best for Wyoming? Well, anybody but you, really, because you're not a conservative. How about this one, Ken? Do you have this one? Did you know that you're climbing the political ladder? Did you know that?
Well, I do in a way, but I would suggest that in order to climb the political ladder, you have to win the votes. You have to do the work.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've been watching you for a couple of years, and really, I haven't seen you do anything. You just kind of been sitting back drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, no appropriations, no trips to Cheyenne.
That
none
one,
of that.
that one would be worth something to me just to keep it out of the hands of people who might actually believe it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good that they sent it to you and not to some other person. I didn't get one of these. But
you have quite a collection of butchers though, but I don't know if you have all of them. So I would say I would trade you 2 Melissa Butchers.
But I don't like Melissa Butcher. Well, I mean, I like her personally. I just don't think she's a great candidate.
I'll do this. 2 Melissa Butchers and a Micah.
Well, now there's a bargain I can't
There you
turn
go.
down. All right, thank you. All right. So now I've got a full collection of the socialists. You see, in baseball card trading, you have to get like the full set. I mean, that's really important. And then I've got a Harriet Hageman and
I got something for you. Hang on.
what do
there.
you got? What do
You
you got?
you keep going. You
Okay.
just riff for a bit.
Oh, I've got another Steve Freeze here. And then I have another Steve Freeze. And then I have another Steve Freeze. Man, how many of these things did they actually produce? I mean, it's well, I don't like any of these. I don't think. Well, the point is, my friends, that as we get closer to the primary election, you're going to see more and more and more of these things. And by the way, this stack is just from yesterday. This is not a collection. These are just from yesterday in my mailbox. Now, the truth is, I don't go get my mail every day, so it's probably a couple of days worth. But this is what I retrieved from the mailbox yesterday. What do you got now? You have...
I have a 2-year-old Jeanette Ward in pristine condition. It does have a pinhole.
Okay, well, that's almost a mint condition, rare Jeanette Ward.
It is rare. But you know what is really cool about this one?
What is that?
It's autographed personally.
It's wow.
It is.
Some
autographed Jeanette Ward.
That one, you better keep that one. That's probably going to be.
We should put that up on the shelf.
We could probably do that. Did you know that in the baseball card world, that usually if you have an autographed baseball card, it's not really worth anything. The only thing that it's worth is the signature on it.
Yeah, but this is Jeanette.
Well, yeah, I'm just saying. I mean, in the baseball card world, things work a little bit differently. Now, it kind of depends, and this is a weird one. Like if you had like a Mickey Mantle rookie card. Of course, he's dead now, so, I mean, you couldn't do this. But if you had a Mickey Mantle rookie card, which is one of the most expensive cards on the market, I mean, modern cards, 1960s on, I suppose there are other way more valuable cards. But that one's like the holy grail. But you would, if it had a signature on it, it was worthless. I mean, the signature of Mickey Mantle, I guess, is worth something, but not the baseball card. And so, oh, wow, that is something else there. What do you have there, Ken?
Let me get situated here.
Well, I mean, you got something huge there. I don't even know what that is.
Well, if you're going to climb a ladder, you got to start somewhere.
Okay, very true.
And this is my first victory.
Yeah.
And it was signed by a bunch of people that were there that night. And that's pretty special to me.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Anyway.
Yeah, I've got a couple of those. I don't have any like team signed stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty cool. And you know what? I'm kind of nostalgic too. This is one of the reasons that Ken and I, where we have a lot of commonality. I keep things that are important only to me. Like you can look through my studio and there are things that, are, there you go. You can see it. Perfect.
Yeah, see, I got to push all the right buttons so that everybody else can see.
When Melissa Butcher loses and you win next Tuesday, we're gonna have to do another one of those. Now we'll make sure that we have a campaign sign around when that happens.
You do that.
Well,
I'm going to have other things on my mind. I'm going to be so busy watching all the races across the state.
Well, that's why
every one of my.
We'll be. Well, you said you would make an appearance, but anyway. Okay, so the glut of mailers that you're receiving is probably only going to accelerate in here really quick, and it's only because of what Ken mentioned earlier, that it's desperation season, and that. It's the idea that, well, we just one more mailer will do the trick. When the truth is that most people have already made up their mind when it comes to this. I think. I mean, do you think there are that many people that?
Yeah, it's going door to door. People are just tired of it. I actually opted out of sending my last mailer this time around.
Just because you didn't think it would be
one more just might be that much offense to somebody. And then, fortunately, there are some PACs out there like GOA who are appreciative, and they filled in that gap for me. So thanks.
I mean, I've received several at my house that are not that are not from your campaign, but that speak very highly of you. And there's a big difference between. I'm not saying all races, because certainly there are a few across the state that have become kind of ugly. But one of those is here in Sheridan. Now, remember, there are some folks that, you remember the whole Let's Become a Peacemaker pledge? Remember that whole thing? Where everybody signed it. We're all going to be nice, and we're not going to attack our opponents. And this is so great. And we've reposted their stuff over and over and over. Well, one of those people here in Sheridan is Gail Simmons. And, it's if you're on the political left, I'm pretty sure that she was... what the heck is that?
Somebody trying to sell something on the side there.
Yeah, get rid of that.
Yeah.
I hit those little dots, and you can probably get rid of it. Yeah, there you go. Okay. Anyway, we get spam comments in there all the time. But anyway, there are some races where it's gotten particularly nasty, and one of those is Gail Simmons. She does a lot of recruiting for the political left, and she was also one of those people that was all about the let's become a peacemaker. All these evil conservatives, they're just so mean.
Yeah, we've never seen this much turmoil until the Freedom Caucus turned up. And if you look at the turmoil isn't coming from us.
No. Well, okay.
It might be about to.
Well, it might be. Well, here's another thing before we show them this graphic. Telling the truth about somebody is not attacking them.
Yeah.
That's telling the truth. And if in a person's voting record, a legislator's voting record, that's who they are. I mean, you take hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of votes, and typically a pattern, almost always, a pattern comes out. And you can see which issues they're in support of and which ones they're not. And so that's who they are. And so just explaining what their voting record is, that's not an attack. Explaining what the implications of those votes are, that's not an attack.
Listening to their stump speech is not necessarily going to tell you who they are.
No, but it might rot your brain.
Yeah, so when you stand up and actually show the votes, as we did with Maryland.
Yeah, Marilyn Connolly is a great example.
Yeah, exactly.
There is a post out, I think it was posted last night, but a constituent of hers wrote her a letter. And it was pretty pointed, and basically it said, you know what, Marilyn, maybe you should drop out.
Your votes don't match your rhetoric.
You're right.
Essentially what it's saying.
Yeah, what you told us is not how you've been voting, and you should just drop out. Well, she used that as a political attack. She claimed that she was receiving anonymous attacks, when the truth is, it was an old guy down the street that wrote her a letter. And that's what, go look at, I reposted it on my Facebook page. So just go to my page. I think it's on David Iverson. You can see the whole thing there. But it's telling the truth about somebody. That's not an attack. Now, let me show you what is an attack. Go ahead and show them this, Ken.
Oh, that's me. That's
you.
an attack.
No.
Oh,
this
yes.
is an attack. Here's Gail Simmons. Hey, jackass, the Wyoming investment funds are not a surplus. These investments now generate more revenue than the state to the state than minerals. They did not come from individual taxpayers, but from the extractive industry. And
Who do they belong to, Gail? And who, these extractive industries, where does their revenue come from, Gail?
So, first, every single dollar that is in a government account, a Wyoming state account, federal account, it doesn't matter. Every single dime of it came from somebody who had to earn it.
And it belongs to the people.
All of it belongs to the people. Government does not have its own money. You do. Any money that is in a government account was stolen from you. Okay, now maybe you think that word stolen is a little bit strong.
Well, it's still your money.
It's your money, and you were forced to cough it up.
Yep.
That's kind of stealing, right? And instead of the barrel of a gun, they use your house. Or they use the threat of imprisonment, or they use the threat of more fines. But all of it, taxation is by its very definition forced. Now, every single penny of that, well, we don't use pennies anymore. Trump did away with pennies. But every single nickel of that is your money. And yet, the people that claim to be the peacemakers, the ones that say that the Freedom Caucus folks, they're the nasty ones. They're not civil. They're just not nice. Well, these are the very people that on public social media call others jackasses. Now, she later, and this perhaps is a a bigger indictment of her. Not long after she posted this, she went in and edited it, thinking that, nobody would notice. Well, Gail, as you can see, we've noticed. I mean, it's just absolutely bizarre.
I definitely noticed, and it was not lost on me exactly who she was talking about.
Yeah, well, you, or it could have been your partner in crime, Mark Jennings.
Well, sometimes people comment things, oh, I wasn't talking about you. And, but
right.
In context, yeah.
Yeah, Okay, so moving on. You know what? Let's see here. Let's do something a little bit different before we get into that. So, Ken, do you watch the WNBA?
Nope.
Nope. Neither does anybody else.
Nope.
which is why they're constantly asking for more money and demanding more money and accusing everybody of being racist. But one of them that is in the news is a really horrendous, flagrant foul.
Yeah, I did happen to see that.
Yeah, I've got the video.
I don't live under a rock.
I've got the video of it. Go ahead and play it. This thing is terrible.
Defense?
No. It's the... Here, let me tell you which one it is.
Oh, the foul.
Yeah, the foul itself.
Face coming down, trying to prevent the layup, but that is just a hard hit. That's definitely going to be upgraded, I think, to a flagrant 2, Ryan.
I think that is going to be a flagrant 2. There is wind up, there is follow through, there's potential for injury.
Watch this.
Without
Sophie Cunningham in a vulnerable position in the air.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I mean,
not going for the
there's
ball.
no question why Sophie.
All right, so after that happened, the left went into overdrive. Well, first, the person that committed that foul, right after she did it, she went to social media, her X account, and she said it was white privilege. You could see that in that video. You could see her little tweet or post on X right there at the bottom, that it's racism. That's why she got kicked out. Well, lots of people came to her defense, including some commentators. Now, listen to this. This one's called WNBA Defense. Watch that one.
These are plays we've seen from Dejanay, right? So getting in the right position, jumping over the top, getting
now
these transition
she's going for
blocks.
the ball.
She's always going to make that effort. So even for some of these, she's behind the offensive player coming over the top. So again, she was behind Sophie Cunningham. She wasn't able to get over the top. Had she got over the top and made that play, we wouldn't have been talking about it. She was too far behind the play. The contact above the head was too much. But that's what Dejanay Carrington does.
No,
like it's not. This wasn't a, to me.
All right. That's not. And you can tell from the video that she wasn't going for the ball. That whole point was to just crack her in the head and try to knock her out of the game. Well, Sports Illustrated...
You didn't just say crack her, did you?
I said crack her over the head.
Checking.
But that's probably a slur that she's used against that player.
No doubt. I guess kind of makes me miss roller derby.
My sister and I used to watch roller derby when we were little. It was kind of fun. All right, but it has also been Sports Illustrated. Listen to this headline. Headline suggesting Sophie Cunningham deserved the flagrant foul. And I quote, this is from Breitbart News. One of the nation's top sports chronicles, Sports Illustrated, is under fire for pushing out a headline insisting that WNBA star Sophie Cunningham, who, by the way, Sophie Cunningham is also under fire because she said, hey, maybe our sports should be fair. Maybe there shouldn't be men in women's sports, but the huge, stupid controversy there, too. Anyway, suggesting that Sophie Cunningham deserved to be bashed in the face on the court because of her support for women's-only sports. The outrageous SI headline came after Cunningham suffered a flagrant clothesline foul on Saturday when Chicago Sky player Dejanay Carrington smacked Cunningham in the face while attempting to block Cunningham's shot. I don't think she was attempting to block the shot at all.
If you want to know how this pans out, just reverse the roles.
Yeah, exactly.
You've seen all the attacks on Caitlin Clark, I think.
Yeah, what would happen if the roles were reversed?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's the headline from Sports Illustrated. Sophie Cunningham got a bitter taste of karma after drawing flagrant foul in Fever Sky. Wow! So it's karma. Oh, my God. Now, Ken, why don't you see this type of behavior in all the time in men's sports? I mean, occasionally you'll see, a batter charge the mound, or you might see a rough hit in football, but it doesn't happen very, very often.
Not even in hockey.
Yeah, hockey. Part of hockey. I went to a boxing match and a hockey game broke out. But even in hockey, like you get a penalty for a hard hit. But why don't you see a lot of this in men's sports? It's simple, Ken, because you'll get your butt kicked. Let me give you an example. This is a pretty famous one from baseball, but it's Nolan Ryan obviously hitting Robin Ventura. Now watch. This is part of the reason why this doesn't happen in men's sports a lot. Watch this.
Here's Ventura, RBI single in the first. Watch out.
Obviously hitting.
Look at this.
And then Ryan grabs him by the head and beats the snot out of him. Yeah, the end of the video, that's pretty much the end of it. Now, the video's really long. It's like 6 minutes. But in the end, the umpires break it up. Nolan Ryan does not get tossed, but he gets up to the mound, and I think he's bleeding from the nose, and he just wipes it off and then throws the next pitch. But the reason why you don't see this in men's sports a lot is you're going to get your butt handed to you. In baseball, you've got a guy armed with a big wooden club, and are you really going to beat him on purpose?
So are you advocating that basketball players start carrying a bat?
I'm advocating that perhaps white basketball players in the WNBA maybe should start carrying a bat. But the point is that this doesn't happen a lot because, one, those rules are enforced. And think about baseball. For a while, I was against this whole, review of pitches. I'm kind of a traditionalist that way. But I kind of like it now. Each team gets two chances to, they get two, reviews. And if they miss on two of them, then they can't ask for a pitch to be reviewed anymore. But if you win a challenge, that's what they call it. But if you win the challenge, you can continue challenging pitches so long as you're right. And if you miss two of them, you're done. But the rules are set up so that the game is fair. And, by the way, if you're Nolan Ryan and you bean somebody, of course, it's Nolan Ryan, and, he kicked the crap out of Robin Ventura. But the chances of somebody charging the mound for you doing something stupid are pretty high. Or in your sport of choice, Ken, football, if something bad happens, you're probably going to see a hard hit. They may take the quarterback out. I mean, the chances of somebody being injured are pretty high.
Yeah.
And that's why it doesn't happen all that often. And it all goes back to, and I love the way Ken puts this, but essentially he says, things were a lot more polite about 100 years ago. When if you said the wrong thing to somebody, you might end up out in the street. And our society has become less polite because there are no consequences anymore. After that flagrant foul on that basketball player, the coach from the opposing team defended her. And you have Sports Illustrated writing articles saying, well, that was karma. My friends, we've got to get back to a place where we just start treating people as people. It's not an attack to report on somebody's voting record. It's not an attack to say in 2003 you went before Congress and said we should do away with coal. That's not an attack at all. That's the truth. The truth, my friends, has no agenda. Now, you can use the truth for your agenda, and that's a different thing altogether. But if it's just the truth, if you're just reporting on somebody's voting record, that's how they voted. If you're just playing what somebody said, that's what they said. Let me give you an example. Play the Ogden abortion soundbite. Now, this was from a debate. Hold on just a second. This was from a debate between he and Chip Nyman, and they're talking about abortion. Now, listen very carefully to what Ogden Driscoll says. Play it.
I believe that the protection of
that. No, that's Chip.
That is a government responsibility.
You want the other one, Ogden abortion.
I do know the difference. I just can't see that far.
Oh, well, you want my glasses?
I am pro-life, and I unabashedly believe in the exemptions for health of the mother, rape and incest.
Okay, pause.
And that's...
Okay, so Ogden says, I'm pro-life, but I unabashedly believe in exceptions. That kind of means you're not pro-life, Augie. When you say life of the mother, they don't mean in the delivery room. That's not what that means. When the abortion advocates say we have to have the exception for life of the mother, what they mean is you're 45 and this might be a high-risk pregnancy, and so your life might be in danger and you might want to consider aborting the child. That is what they mean. Okay, but go ahead and play. Now listen carefully.
Believe in the exemptions for health of the mother, rape and incest. And those are between, you can go to different churches, different places. It's just where it falls, and that's where I'm at. I'm flat to it. Looking over here, I didn't recognize my wife of 44 years, soon to be 45 in my entrance speech. Got a couple daughters. When you talk about two lives and choosing lives, well, the way the bills run with no exemptions, here's what happens. If it comes to the life of your wife or a fetus, this legislation chooses the fetus over your life.
No, it doesn't.
Even if the fetus is flawed. It says you're going to treat it differently. I'm not that way, folks. I've been married 44 years. I'll take the life of a 20-year-old daughter or granddaughter that is carrying a fetus that probably is not going to be viable or isn't going to be a good one.
What?
I mean, it's over that end. And so that's it. This is just a personal end of it.
Yeah, who gets to decide what's a good one?
Wow.
Who gets to decide what's a good one? If my parents could have looked into my mother's womb when I was in there and seen a big gaping hole in my face because of a cleft lip and palate, they might have said, that's not a good one.
That's exactly what Ogden Driscoll is advocating for. Now, let's see here.
Spoken like a true cattleman.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see here. Let me see if I can play just a shorter version of that. Here, we'll just play it from my machine, Ken. Now, I think this is what it is here. Nope, that's Marilyn Connolly. Hold on.
You're going to have to connect yourself to your board.
I just did. Let's see here. Okay, so on this one, let's see here. Let's make sure this is it.
The life of a 20-year-old daughter or granddaughter that is carrying a fetus that probably is not going to be viable or isn't going to be a good one.
Okay. Now, the first time I listened to this debate, I did not catch that. Maybe my attention was directed elsewhere, but I listened to it Saturday morning when I was recording Weekend Update, and I had to listen to it 2 or 3 times. But what he says is a fetus that is not going to be viable or isn't going to be a good one. Now, I don't know how many times Ogden Driscoll has debated the issue of abortion on the floor. But it's been a lot. He's been in office since 2011. My guess would be there have been 50 different times that he has debated the issue of abortion. He knows exactly what he's talking about. And if you're a politician for any length of time, you quickly learn why you should be very careful with what you say. And particularly around topics that are as explosive as abortion. You know that if you say the wrong thing, you're going to end up on the front page of the cow pie, within 6 hours.
Have personal testify to the veracity of that claim.
Yeah. Well, it's happened to you, not on abortion, but you've made a comment and you've been entirely genuine in it, but it's been, if not taken out of context,
right, too.
It's been, don't get your pennies in a wad. Okay, that was funny, but that hit the front page of the paper.
Yeah.
But with abortion, going into it, that it is such an explosive topic that if you say the wrong thing, you're going to hear about it. And if you've been a politician for as long as Ogden is, you know darn well what you can say and what you should say and what you shouldn't say. And you become very attuned to crafting your words carefully. Now, on this program, you can hear it from Ken. When we're on a very difficult topic or a sensitive one, he's very careful about the words that he uses. Often, you'll hear him pause. He'll start to say something, and then he'll pause and think about it, and then he'll continue. Because he's trying very, very hard to choose his words carefully and not, put his mouth in his foot in his mouth. Ogden knew what he was saying. And, originally I thought, okay, maybe I'm being a little nitpicky with this. And then I thought, no. He knows exactly what he was saying. He believes in abortion if it isn't a good one. Oh, my God. Who gets to decide if it's not a good one? Maybe the kid's going to be born with Down syndrome. Ken, you and I have a very good friend whose child is Down syndrome, and that's the happiest little person that you're ever going to meet.
And he has made that entire family happy.
Yeah.
We had the same thing with my wife's sister Bonnie was Williams syndrome. And you don't destroy somebody because of a defect.
No. What if the kid was going to be born without an arm? Is that not a good one? Maybe the kid's going to have blue eyes when you wanted brown eyes. Is that not a good one, Ogden? Maybe the kid's going to be a girl when you wanted a boy. Is that not a good one, Ogden? My point is, my friends, that this goes to a very, 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 very dark place. And I don't think that that Ogden Driscoll can get away from this. After I posted that episode, a lot of people who were there at the debate started commenting and saying, nope, he said it. We could not believe that he said it, but he absolutely did. Now let me play for you what Chip Nyman said directly before that whole thing with Ogden. Play Chip's version of it.
I believe that the protection of that is a government responsibility, is to protect life and to provide that opportunity for innocent life to be able to thrive and to flourish and to have the opportunity to live and breathe and enjoy what all of us enjoy. I believe in protection of life from conception, as I said in my opening, to natural death. I know that's a point of contention. We've talked about it, and I'm sure we'll hear some more about it. I believe that all life needs to be protected, no matter how it was conceived, because it didn't get to choose how it was conceived, but it is a life that is deserving of protection.
Exactly. All life is precious. And nobody gets to decide, not Ogden Driscoll, not anybody, whether a child lives or dies. A child is a gift from God, and God is the only person that gets to decide whether that child lives or dies. And somebody needs to, and let's see here. Oh, wow. So a comment on Facebook. Maybe someone should request that Mr. Driscoll research the 1930s Nazi German T4 project. This is what his stance on abortion can lead to. It's exactly right. It is Ogden Driscoll's position on abortion is horrendous. And I wish my program was bigger so I could tell everybody.
That far back in, I believe it was China, where they were limiting parents to how many kids they could have.
The one-child policy.
Yeah. And so if, as you mentioned earlier, if it comes up the wrong sex, we got to get rid of that one because you only got one chance, and I'm going to have a boy or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, just absolutely horrible. All right, let's go and take our last break, and when we come back, we'll finish up the show. Are you sick to death of being told what to think? Maybe you don't even realize that it's happening. Freedom Caucus bad, big spending, big government, liberal, Republican good. Conservatives are bad and they want to starve little children. I have heard it all, my friends. We are way past the time when the news was just the news, if it ever was. But wouldn't it be nice if you had a news platform that was at least honest about what they were telling you? News on the news page, opinion on the opinion page. That's exactly what the Open Range Record is. Go to the website, openrangerecord.com. News, analysis, opinion, and investigative journalism. One more time, that website is openrangerecord.com.
I'm completely fed up with the ongoing, unnecessarily high increases in property taxes, and I bet you are too. I'm Carla Cayley, and I'm running for county commissioner. Let me tell you why. I want lower property taxes for all property owners. Tax reform is possible without compromising essential county services, which is the only reason local government exists in the first place. Think about it. Do you have any more or any better essential services today than you had 5 years ago when your taxes were about 40% lower? Right. You get it. Your tax dollars are being spent on more than just essential services. We're already paying around 70 mills in taxes. That's right, 70 mills, which is a lot. I am pro-citizen, pro-business, and pro-taxpayer. Without compromising any essential services, together we can lower taxes for all of Sheridan County. I'm Carla Cayley, and I'm asking for your vote on August 18th. Paid for by the committee to elect Carla Cayley.
You can listen and watch Cowboy State Politics live on YouTube, Facebook, X, and on Rumble every Tuesday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. Pay attention to all that other block-headed, Borg-like so-called news if you want. But if you want to get the real story, watch Cowboy State Politics live. And now, back to the program. Welcome back to the program. It's Cowboy State Politics Live, your big voice on the right. Welcome back to the show, my friends. I'm your host, David Iverson, documented to be almost always right 99% of the time. So the rest of the week, I haven't given you an update on how the rest of the week's going to look like. Ken has got to take a trip to Cheyenne. And so for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we'll be back in the original Cowboy State Politics studio and trying to line up a couple of guests for kind of wind up this election coverage. So we'll be back in the original studio, but we'll still have a program, same bat time, same bat channel. So why are you going to the swamp in the middle of an election, Ken?
Try to prevent Medicaid expansion one more time. There is a task force, and it's chaired by none other than Lloyd Larson on the House side and Senator Nethercott on the Senate side.
That slithers on this program.
This is a health insurance affordability task force.
Mm.
And this is a big issue. I mean, I myself don't have regular health insurance anymore because I can't afford it the way that it is. We go through one of those healthcare ministry
right
where you pay each other's bills. And the other thing is I don't go to the doctor. But this has become a big problem, and it was greatly exacerbated by the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. Used to be known as Obamacare, but somehow we forgot about we were going to try to abolish Obamacare.
Yeah, how many times did we promise that?
But it has turned around and turned out to be exactly what we expected, and it was destined to fail, and it's failing. It is breaking people. It's breaking the system. And so little Wyoming, with a population of $580,000, says, what can we do? And most of the answers are more government. More government. So if this is something that you're interested in, I'd encourage you to at least go back and read the minutes, check in a little bit and see. I think this is a really good, I'm thinking about how to say it. I think this is a really good example of why we have to win this election.
Yeah.
We fail to win this election.
They'll expand Medicaid.
And we let these people do what they want to do. It's going to get worse and worse rapidly.
So what's the makeup of the task force?
There are 6 individuals, 3 senators, 3 House reps. I am the only one on the conservative side at all. The closest.
How did that get appointed that way?
One of the problems is there's a rule or a principle that when you set up a task force or a committee, you have to have at least one of each party. Well, we can't always do that.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody on the House side is a Republican, supposedly. But we already know about Taft Love, and we know about Governor Geringer.
Right, but here my question is, how did the task force get set up to where they're majority of liberals from the House? I mean, how did Lloyd Larson end up chairing the House?
It was his idea.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So he goes to Management Council and says that's there, and of course wants to put Tara in there because Tara has some principles
that are terrible.
One of them that she's trying to push is there used to be, well, trying to remember when we first put it in there, but we took some action recently to get rid of sorry, just around. If you have a non-compete clause or a non-compete contract.
Right, that's...
Yeah, and as far as I'm concerned, I was opposed to that. I don't like non-compete clauses. For one thing, they're leaky as a sieve, and most people get out of them anyway. But that's a private contract between 2 individuals. There's nothing to do with where government should be. Well, she wants to further that concept by saying take away the grandfather clause. So when they actually got it passed, existing contracts were already grandfathered in. She wants to take that away. So what we're doing is interjecting. We're putting the government in between individual private contracts. Absolutely ridiculous. We have private individuals can enter into whatever contract they choose, and if there's a problem, it goes to the judiciary. So anyway, but what does that have to do with healthcare affordability? There are some ideas in there. Another thing that Tara wants to do is like we do with alcohol, and I think I've mentioned this on the show before. Drugs are very expensive. So what if the entire state bought all the drugs?
Oh, my God.
We would be able to buy more drugs and theoretically get a better price.
So the state-run pharmacy. Has she been spending time in New York?
I mean, is she friends with... spending time in the pharmacy.
Well, I mean, so questions that come to my mind is, why would you have this meeting in the middle of an election? When everybody's attention is focused on who's getting elected.
Well, fortunately, there's only one conservative they're taking out of the field.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
I know what you're saying.
The reason they scheduled it right now is because nobody's attention is on it.
It's like a Friday news.
Right, and what's going to come out of the task force is they're going to say, let's expand Medicare or Medicaid. I mean, that's going to be...
By a 5-to-1 vote.
Yeah. I mean, that is going to be their solution to it. And then it will come up in the legislature. Hey, look, this is a committee bill. This is great. Committee bills, you can't kill those. And it's going to be the same mantra over and over and over. My friends, when you take your eye off the ball, this is going to be a wrong analogy. Probably shouldn't used it. They're going to stick it to you. And that's exactly what
they're going to clothesline you.
Yeah, clothesline you. I mean, Nolan Ryan's not going to be on the mound to whoop them. All right, so there are a number of what I think are really important races, some of which aren't getting any attention at all, and one of those is in House District 40. That's in Johnson County, parts of Sheridan County, but it's Marilyn Connolly. Now, Marilyn Connolly is, she's not an effective legislator. She's a total redcoat. I mean, borderline communist. She spent voted to spend an additional $1.241 billion in the budget.
If you do some digging on evidence-based Wyoming, you find she is the losingest, least effective legislator of all 93.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's terrible. But she's in a pretty contentious race with Mark Jones. Now, Mark Jones, solid conservative. He's been on this program a lot of time, several times. But gun rights advocate. He really was pretty vocal on the property tax thing. Great guy. But it's Hazard County, and he's got a fight on his hands. Well, I don't think that anybody's really paying attention to that, because it just hasn't made the news. There's lots of stuff going on. Marilyn Connolly used a personal letter that was written to her and claimed that it was an attack, that somebody was threatening her. When it was a personal letter to her. The guy signed it.
Yeah, he was actually trying to help her out.
Yeah.
And saying, you're not picking up on what other people are seeing. You're not seeing this. She took it as an attack, which is a typical Maryland move.
That's what she always does.
But I'll tell you what, if you're in this business, I get attack letters. I get nasty things. People call me jackass on public.
Gail. But it's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, it's kind of a rough and tumble game.
So why is that? Why do I say that that's a pivotal race? Well, Marilyn Connolly essentially is just a vote for the left. I mean, she's not an effective legislator, but she is one vote that always votes with the Redcoats and the Democrats. So if we flip that seat, I count that as a plus one. It's actually a +2 because you're taking one vote away and giving one to the conservatives. But super important. Now, Magpie Mullen, has a piece in Wyopile entitled "These Legislative Races Could Determine the Balance of Power in Cheyenne."
Yeah, I saw that one.
Yeah, she mentions you. You're at the very end of it.
Once you mention me, nothing else needs to be mentioned.
Well, exactly, right? That's why she couldn't lead with you. Here's what she says. When lawmakers gavel in for the 69th Wyoming legislature next January in Cheyenne, there will be new faces in the House and the Senate. Blah, blah, blah. All House districts are on the ballot. More blah, more blah. Wyofile has highlighted several House races, including a House rematch between Natrona County incumbent and ousted lawmaker, a race defined by nuclear energy, a former House Speaker seeking another term in the Senate. Now, after most of its top legislative goals failed this year, the caucus... Okay, so I love this phrase. After most of its top legislative goals failed this year. Well, you passed the budget.
It's a false premise.
Recalibrated education.
We passed a budget underneath what the governor recommended.
Cut funding to almost cut funding entirely to the Wyoming Business Council.
Well, we did cut funding, right? But
really almost entirely. Yeah. But that's absolutely a false premise. So here are some of the races that Wyopile says will determine success. One of those is John Bear. And, of course, he was the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, arguably one of the most effective legislators in the House. I don't think that you could argue that. He's the chair of appropriations. And so, the guy's got a lot of stroke down there.
He does.
And he has an opponent in Doug Moore, who is running for the Republican nomination but doesn't think he should show up to Republican debates. He is definitely part of the Redcoats, advocating for higher taxes. We don't need to cut taxes anymore. And it's so that one there, I think that John will probably be successful in that one. Let's see here. Dave Hart, let's see here. Campbell County needs a representative, blah, blah, blah. Dave Hardesty, an educator and veteran, is seeking signatures to appear as an independent. All right, don't care about that. Okay, Tony Locke. This, I think, is a super pivotal race. Tony Locke has been kind of the head of the spear with the whole tax discussion. And if you want to see a guy that knows property taxes in and out, it's Tony Locke.
And a guy who in a campaign does the work.
Yes, he does.
Nobody matches Tony. Maybe Exy.
Maybe.
You know?
But Tony is,
Yeah.
I mean, he's the man that you'll see him on the doorstep in Casper.
Yeah, you could have stopped that sentence that he's the man.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm the man, but whatever.
Okay.
In Casper, Republican Tony Locke, an engineer, is seeking his third term representing House District 35. This marks another Natrona County rematch as absolute communist Christopher Drazang, a public school administrator, is also running. Locke, a Freedom Caucus ally. Notice they always have to slip in Freedom Caucus in there. I mean, it's just absolutely incredible. Let's see here.
Most powerful dozen people on earth.
Yeah. Locke, a Freedom Caucus ally, beat Drazang with 54.4% of the vote. During his time in the legislature, Locke has served as chairman of the House Revenue Committee. And like I said, if it's property taxes, it's probably got Tony Locke's name on it. Let's see here. 2 Republican women will compete for Cheyenne to represent House 43. This is Ann Lucas and Jessica Crowder. Jessica Crowder is another one of the folks that'll definitely end up with the Redcoats. A lot of her campaign rhetoric is, more essential services, that whole spiel. Here's what Mullen says about it. Lucas, a freshman legislator and Freedom Caucus member, was the leading proponent of a committee bill designed to regulate how books and with graphic sexual content are housed and challenge the state's public and school libraries. The bill, which critics call a book ban, again, this is the one that they always get hung up on. It is not a book ban. Nobody's banning any books. The only thing that bill would have done is taken pornographic material out of the children's section and moved it into the adult section. That's not a book ban. Crowder previously led the Wyoming Stock Growers Land Trust and served as a policy advisor to Governor Matt Mead. In her campaign announcement, Crowder said she'll focus on strengthening Wyoming's economy, supporting local communities, and preserving the state's way of life for future generations. What does that mean? None of that means anything. None of it has any specifics in it whatsoever.
It does to me.
Well, I mean, okay, so the implication is total redcoat.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Then there's another one. Remains to be seen. Okay, so there is Lyman's Joe Webb, who is running for re-election in House 19. Karen Weber, who is running in House District 5. I've had her on the program. I really like her. Her focus is on agriculture. Really important for Goshen County. Super. I really like her as a candidate. Very, very detail-oriented.
Yeah, she's very astute.
Very much so.
Had some good conversations with her.
Let's see here. So Joe Webb is running against Chad Stevens, who's a veteran and small business owner. Webb's a retired police officer and one of several. Okay, and then they have to insert the whole check thing.
Yeah.
If you want to know about what Joe Webb went through in the House of Representatives, they tried to destroy him, and he did nothing wrong.
They're still trying to destroy him, and I will tell you, he's one of the most decent, loving men you'll ever meet.
Yeah, I love him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an awesome guy. Then there's Lloyd Larson, who's running for his 8th term in House 54. And let's see here. Blah, blah, blah. Pour all the water for Lloyd Larson. Jeff Martin owns a motorcycle shop, and he's challenging Larson for a second time. In 2022, Martin ran in the general election as an independent, losing to Larson by 1,000 votes. That year, Martin hosted a GOP political rally in Fremont County. In 2024, Martin donated to several Freedom Caucus candidates. Who cares? According to campaign finance records. During the legislative session, the Wyoming Senate stood as an obstacle to, and it goes on. So then it goes into the Senate races. Paul Heft is running against R.J. Cost. R.J. Cost is one of the biggest redcoats that ever walked into the Wyoming Capitol. Somewhere, and I've yet to find this, somewhere I've got a video of R.J. Cost, Mike Sullivan, and Nate Martin talking about how they could get more Democrats elected. Yeah. R.J. Cost is the very definition of a redcoat. Dan Larson handily beat him 4 years ago, and I have a feeling that Paul Heft is gonna walk away with that.
Paul's a really good people person.
Yeah,
and quite frankly, he's one of my absolute favorites in the legislature.
Let's see here. One of the most crowded legislative races is in Evanston. Wendy Schuler. She's running against Jen Hageman, Tina Johnson, and Chris Katzel. Schuler is not part of the Freedom Caucus and was challenged by one of its former members, Bob Wharf. And so Schuler's an interesting one. Okay, she almost always votes with the Democrats. Almost always. However, she is the author of the ban on men in women's sports. She always votes against guns. She is the person that said, I vote however many emails I get. You know, whatever emails I get, I just vote accordingly. In other words, Wendy, if I got 1,000 people to send you emails that say no exceptions on abortion, you would vote that way? No, she wouldn't. But I think that Tina is giving her a run for her money. I know that she's been doing a lot of door-to-door. And I know Tina pretty well. She should be she's a great candidate. She'd be a great senator. But it is kind of a crowded race. Nice thing about that race, though, is there's kind of two redcoats running and one conservative. The same thing could be said there's a couple of other races where that's true. One of those is in Natrona County. That is Bill Landon's seat, and that one also has two redcoats, Marcia Newmiller, and I can't remember who the other redcoat is. But that one there, solid conservative running in that race. Had him on the program not that long ago. So there are a number of races that are pretty pivotal. And I think a lot of them are kind of going unnoticed. Now, one of the bigger ones, and this is how this article ends. All right, Ken, I'll give you a little, blow your head up a little bit here.
Before you go there, Ben Hornock,
another
down
great
in
one.
Cheyenne.
Yeah,
she didn't mention him, but Lynn is out there. Lynn holds the seat currently. She's retiring, and she's out there campaigning with Ben, and I'm really excited about seeing Ben back in the legislature.
Another pivotal one that I think is important is House District 30. That's Mark Jennings and Ryan Koltiska. I think Mark's going to run away with that one. He's been out going door to door every day.
That one's a big deal because of the leadership that Mark brings.
Yep.
And one of the hard things for me about leaving the House was knowing that there was going to be a bit of a leadership gap if several of us did, and Abby's sitting in really good shape, I believe, over there in Campbell County in Gillette.
Yeah, that's an important race too.
Yeah. What a difference a half dozen of us would make walking into that Senate chamber.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it would make a world of difference. Actually, the truth is, even 2 or 3 of you would make a difference. And it's you walk into this.
Bob, I'd sure feel better.
Yeah, he would. Bob, Sherry Steinmetz, and Senator Pearson. They're kind of the lone rangers over there. But if you walk into the Senate, it's like walking into a morgue. Like, you look at the look on people's faces, and the only ones that are happy to be there are the redcoats, because they know what they're about to do to you. The rest of it, it's no fun. I think that having some people that got a little fire in their belly over there would be a welcome change. At least you could sit through 30 minutes and watch it.
If Charlie Scott is one of the most exciting people in there.
Oh, God.
I like Charlie. I like him.
I like Comrade Scott. He's good on education, and on Medicaid expansion. He hates Medicaid expansion.
He understands numbers.
Yeah. All right. So anyway, my friends, that pretty much does it for today's busy broadcast. Tomorrow we'll be in the original studio. Ken will be on his way. Are you leaving today or are you leaving tomorrow?
No, we're going to leave tomorrow. I've got a couple of other meetings and other things that need to be handled, and Thursday, Friday are the task force meetings in Cheyenne, and it promises to be very thrilling.
I'm sure it will be very, very exciting, you being the only conservative of the bunch. All right, well, I will man the helm here. Tomorrow we'll be back in the original studio. But for now, from the base of the Bighorns, I'm David Iverson, and this is Cowboy State Politics. Have a good afternoon. We'll see you tomorrow, my friends.